Everybody, my name is Garrett. I'm with Nashville Metal Art. I'm the lead production manager, and I also head up running this UV printer to the right of me, which is a JFX 22513 Mimaki printer that we got from PDS Equipment here in Nashville. It's a entry-level machine. It's a great machine, dual head. We've ran it every day, very hard for almost the last year now since we've had it. The reason I'm making this video is because the techs do a great job of setting the machine up and showing you the basics, but when it comes to putting it into production, there's a lot of different things that I wish I had known, a lot of tips and tricks, and I'm going to go through those today. And if you're on the fence about buying one because you think it might be too much of a learning curve, or you have one and you're struggling to do certain things, or you're getting hung up somewhere, my goal in this video is to help clear that up. So the first thing we're going to do is head over to my computer, which I remoted into the UV printer computer, and we're going to set up a job and we're going to print our first jig. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is open up Adobe Illustrator. Now, Adobe Illustrator is my program of choice. You can use Corel Draw. There's several other software that you can use, but I prefer Adobe Illustrator. I'm the most familiar with it. So the first thing we're going to do is go to File, New, and then we're going to Open. And right here you can set it to inches or millimeters, whatever you're familiar with, but I'm going to do inches, and I'm going to put my bed height, my bed dimensions in, which will be 96 by 48. So once we do that, we're going to create our job, and now we essentially have our bed. This is the size of our bed that we can print on, and this will just make things a lot easier as far as locating where pieces are at, and so on and so forth. So the first thing we're going to do is I'm going to take an art file from another job that I have to kind of give you a demonstration. So we're going to put this in here. This is our American address plaque. We're going to hide that. And then we're going to take this, copy, and open a new layer. So a couple things to note here is that we are on two different layers, and I will tell you why that's important when we actually print the artwork right here. So what I have right here is, I'm going to go ahead and hide this. This is our jig. And what a jig is basically where I'm going to set the material on the bed and where I'm going to place the artwork inside Adobe Illustrator. And basically that way I know everything is going to line up. So what I'm going to do here is select this. And I've got a pretty messy jig at the moment, so I'm going to make it a little bit brighter. All right. And now that I have that, I can hit Control Shift Save and save that as a PDF file. You want to save it as a PDF file. You can save it as an AI, but I recommend PDF. So we're going to save that. All right, and now we're going to move to printing our jig, which I will go ahead and pull up raster link. You should know how to use this if you have a machine like this. Your tech should have showed you. So we're going to open it. Open this file. We're going to click on it and click rip and print. All right, so I will see you when the jig is printing. All right, so the printing is done. We have our jig right here, and then we have our material right here. So we print on steel and aluminum. You can print on canvas, wood, just about anything with this machine, but our material of choice is metal. 16 gauge cold rolled steel, powder coated white. You can lay white on this machine, but since this is steel, we don't want it to rust, so we powder coat everything white. We were doing it clear, but just for the sake of saving time, we do it white because there's no point in printing white with that thing and then powder coating this as well, so save a little bit of money. So as you can see, we'll hop over here to the computer, and right where I printed, laid out the jig in Illustrator is right where it printed on the jig. And if you're curious about this jig, it is like what you make like real estate signs out of. You get it off of Grimco. It's like 14 bucks a piece. Super cheap, double-sided. We use, I've got like 10 different types of runs on here, so great value. But the next thing we're gonna do is go back to my computer and set up the workspace to print the actual artwork on the piece of metal. Okay, so we are back in Adobe Illustrator and we have our jig that we just printed and we have our art file. Now, like I said, they are on two separate layers, and the reason for that is if you keep them on the same layer and you move this over to here, you will either have to delete this entire jig right here and you won't be able to use it again. You'll have to re-import it, reposition it, and that essentially makes it useless. One of the big things you want to be able to do is make sure that your jig that you printed is always in the same spot in correlation to where you printed it on your material on your bed. So the jig material that I was using, if this stays right here and the material doesn't move, I can always put a address plaque right here and it will print in the same spot at the same time. So like I said, they're on two separate layers. So what I'm going to do is, another trick that I found that really helps is putting your art layer underneath your jig layer. And what that does is, so I can set it right here, and now I can see where my jig is at. And if you can tell, the art file is a little bit bigger, and there's a reason for that. We don't get it exact every single time, so I like to make a little bit of runoff. That way, if it's shifted to the left a little bit on the bed, or if it's shifted to the right a little bit, it's still going to print the full piece. There's not going to be a blank spot. That was a big problem that I had in the beginning of doing this, is I would make the art the exact size, and let's say it was like this, but on the bed it was shifted maybe a little bit this way, so this whole piece right here would just be blank. So yep, I like to make it just a little bit bigger, so just take that into consideration when you're drawing your files. So now that I've got it set right, I can hide my jig file. I can press Ctrl S, save, and I'll do YouTube test run 1. Save that, hit save. Okay, and then we'll come back over to raster link and hit open. Come over here, we'll open that file. Now, this is another thing that I'm going to go through that I wish I had known. So, for some reason, when printing on metal, it could be a little bit different for canvas. We haven't really messed with it. Sometimes we get these print lines, and the way I've found to remedy that is if you come over here to its quality, you'll have all these quality settings. Now, your tech should have gone through this, but I kind of forgot. I had to look up some documentation on what all of these do. But basically, you have all of these settings are going to be the same except resolution. So you have 3 different resolutions. The higher the resolution, the nicer your print's going to come out to be. So I like to keep it on 300 by 450, but to get rid of the print lines, I will set my pass to 24. Now, this does take a little bit more time, but it's the only way that I've remedied these print lines that I get sometimes, especially after I run the printer, you know, maybe 6 or 7 runs of the same print. I'll start getting those print lines really bad, and it essentially makes my piece useless. I have to sand it all off, repowder coat it. It's just a big hassle. So what I'm going to do is rip and print this. That's going to render. I'm going to go ahead and clear the machine real quick from the last job, and I will see you when this piece is done. Alright, so we've got our material placed inside of our jig. Got it in the middle as best as possible. I'm going to go ahead and print this. I'm not going to do you the disservice of filming with this vacuum on because it is incredibly loud, but I will be back to you after this piece is done. Alright, so our piece is done, fresh off the table. It is ready to go right off the table. Because it's a UV printer, it flashes a UV light every time it passes, and there's no curing time, there's nothing like that. So this thing's ready to be packed up and shipped. If you guys have any questions, please leave them in the comments below. This is my first video, so it probably won't be the best, but I look forward to making more, covering more topics on how to use this machine efficiently. The next video we'll be doing like a mass run, multiple runs per print. So like, comment, subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.